Is us returning to the Earth-like planet. All the containers are full of uranium and platinum ore. We're weighing almost 1,000,000 kilos. If you want to learn how to build this large grid ship to get off of the Earth-like planet and go get yourself uranium and platinum, stay tuned. Hey there, space engine nerds! Today we are going over one of the most searched topics in Space Engineers, and that is going to space and your first spaceship. We're going to knock them both out today. Let's get to it. Alright, to start out, we are going to build a large grid, a small ship and large grid. That gives us flexibility later to adapt it into the mid-game and get us kind of pushed through the mid-game. And to start out, we're going to pretend that conveyance block there is tapped into our base. I'm going to make a storage box right there on it, so then we can easily pull the supplies we need out of it into our inventory to build the rest of the ship. Now we could build a small grid ship to get up to space, but it's not going to be as flexible. You could go out there to get your uranium, a little bit of platinum, but this is going to let us get a lot more. So we're just going to tap in up here, and these blocks down here we're going to remove those later, but it's going to allow us also to stock the ship with all the things that we need. So this block here is going to be our initial conveyance into the ship. So from there we want to go over, and we're going to need some oxygen tanks in space. So let's go over, get some oxygen tanks. We'll snap a couple in there. I like to have a reserve tank just in case, because there's nothing worse than suffocating in space. Now I'm just snapping this together in creative. So I have color coded these blocks as our temporary blocks that we're going to cut off. And to save you hydrogen, I like to make a little ramp that you could just run up if that's something you're worried about, is conserving your hydrogen. So next we are going to need some hydrogen tanks. We could snap some small hydrogen tanks here. Let's get this back over to our building color. And that's oxygen. We're going to get a couple smaller hydrogen tanks, build them on each side. We'll probably build a big one on it just because we're going to need that early game. So top down we should be looking something like this. Now this is going to be the front of the ship, that direction. This is going to be the rear of the ship. So we want to add a little bit of flexibility in our building, so we're going to snap these all-way conveyance blocks here. I'm going to be building this just on stock in case people don't have DLCs. Next we have their oxygen, we have a little bit of hydrogen, reserve oxygen tank. It's a good idea to have, we're going to have a lot of hydrogen on the ship, so having a hydrogen engine to produce power to recharge the batteries that we'll put in is going to be pretty essential. Now let's make sure we go in and turn this off for now. Now, like I said earlier, we're going to want to have the ability to expand this thing, so I'm just going to stick a small nuclear reactor here. And let's get another one facing up like that. So now it'll have conveyance coming through the hydrogen engine up into that one, into this one. Alright, now that we have that done, we want to have a jump drive made too so we can get around in space, but to do that we're probably going to need some more power. So let's run two more hydrogen engines on the back. That should cut us down to a reasonable recharge time for our jump drive. We'll snap two on like that, facing up on the rear, and that'll be a cool little center engine room setup. Now make sure you shut those hydrogen engines off we just made, and next we are going to want to build a couple of batteries. Batteries are extremely heavy, and batteries just hold power. So we're going to build two like this, and that will give us a good base of power in reserve. Remember, there is power storage, which is batteries. That just holds power that's been generated, and there is power generation, so that it power generation is your things like your hydrogen engines and your nuclear reactors. But since we weren't going to have uranium off the start, we're going to have to rely on our hydrogen engines to keep the batteries charged and charge our jump drive. Let's go grab a jump drive, snap it on there like that. Oh yeah, now it's taking shape. So also want to come into your jump drive and turn that off so it's not sucking power from your base. Now, coming up a ramp from the front of the ship, we're going to make this kind of our little open living quarter area, and we need to think about a couple things, and that is we need to have air so we can breathe. I'll make a default one. We're going to snap an air vent back here on this conveyance, and that will pressurize this entire room. Now, when you first make your air vent, come in here, and if you turn on the option to depressurize, it will pull the air out of the atmosphere and refill your oxygen tanks. So these are going to be filled up from that right now. So next we're going to need a place to safely log out and sleep if you're on an official, or you could skip this step, but we want to make a cargo terminal there facing up to get access to our conveyance. And then on the back of that, we're going to make a cryo chamber. So now we will have our cryopod to log out in. We will have oxygen being pumped into our living quarters. And we will have access to the conveyance here. I kind of want to make the bridge in this area. So from there, what we're going to do, go over to our decorations. We'll get a stair block here. To make it a cool access walking up. Come across. This is going to be our bridge area. So next thing on the agenda is we're going to need a way to replenish our lost hydrogen in space. And so we're going to need the O2H2 generators. Now these are going to be very critical on how we're going to place these, because this top part is not airtight. And we want to rotate it around so it looks something like that. We're going to snap those on both sides. The side conveyance is going to snap into our conveyance here, and then we need to rotate it so this side is up, because this side is airtight and this bottom side is not airtight. Air can go through there. So we're going to have to put them so they're facing this way towards the top, and that will seal this entire area off. All right, now at the rear of the ship, we're going to add more of the O2H2 generators on, again making them face that way, but this time we're going to connect from the side port onto that conveyance and the side port onto that conveyance, leaving this top. There's a gap here now, and that will allow us to tap in more goodies. So now to the logistics tab. Trying to use all Nilla blocks for people if they don't have them. We could snap that on there like that, and now we got to go logistics 2, and we are going to get a big old hydrogen tank. Snap right on the middle. These hydrogen tanks have conveyance ports on all sides, so now we'll have one big hydrogen tank. Now we can make our medical room in the event we may have an untimely demise. And these ones are really a pain in the butt to deal with because of the size of them, and they're not airtight. So coming up with a place to put your medical room is tricky, but right here should work, and it will serve two purposes because this is going to be our bridge. So we're also going to need over in logistics 2, we're going to make another air vent in here. And this one is going to be our CIC air vent. Oh, that's right. I got to use Nilla's. So we'll snap that bad boy right there. And now once we connect this conveyance, we will be good to go. It'll lock all that in and we can get our oxygen and hydrogen when we refill off of that. So we snap that on there like that. It's really taking shape. And that gives us a couple other options to build on the inside of our bridge area. And we're going to use some decoration blocks to just kind of seal in our bridge area. Put some amenities in it, like a toilet and a shower. These showers make excellent corner pieces for sealing, and they snap in real nice to these bathroom blocks. So then you can actually come in here and your remote control, you can fly it off the toilet. So now I'm just going to go in. I'll snap when I get the rest of this done. It'll cut to that. All right. The bridge area I have decorated. Now just remember the outside perimeter on the top of this bridge area, the idea is we just need blocks to seal it that are airtight. So this is what I've come up with. You could use any blocks. I tried to stay on just Nilla blocks for people that don't have DLC, so I'm not sure how much it should all be. I think if not, you could replace them with like whatever blocks. But we have the bathroom, the shower, just a passage 2 stuck there, half bed there. Make sure it's the one that's sealed in the back, and a 2 of the passage 3 corners going into a ladder shaft, and then we have a weapon rack here. We have the inset bookshelf positioned like that, so you have access to your books and your coffee. They're important. And lockers and a fish tank, of course. My throwback to Mass Effect. Gotta have a fish tank. And you have your freezer for storing your food, and you have armory lockers for your equipment, and a kitchen to cook stuff with. And that would complete this bridge area. Alright, now that that's done, we need to start getting some things built up in our ship to make our bridge, our control seat on the bridge. So if we snap one of these side passages like that, that will be perfect. Now we need to get the doors out. We're going to flip around, make a nice entrance door into our main room. And now that that's on there, we can use the steel catwalk plates and flip them upside down. We'll snap one there. We need to then use the light panel. We'll flip that upside down, and that will give us lighting into our room here. And another plate there. And now that should make a nice little foundation for us to work with here to make our control seat. Alright, now we're gonna start building our area by our windows. We need to plug this hole. I'm just going to use one of these vertical windows here as a decorative piece because we need to have this slot above this ladder well open so we can actually climb up it. We don't want to fall down this hole, so we're going to plug it with that. And we can now make our control seat. I'm going to use this one facing forward, and that will open up that really nice. And now we will snap some windows on there. I will cut to that. Now to fill the gaps next to the door, I want to put some event controllers in here. And that control panel facing forward like that. Alright, now at the front of our door, we can go into passages and use a lighted one. Snap it there. That'll give us conveyance access into our reactors here and give us a little bit of light in this area too. It'll shine out. It'll look really nice. Now to finally put some windows in here, I'm gonna try to use these round windows. I really don't use them that much, but I think they'll look pretty nice. And I think we could slap some half armor slope here to kind of protect the bottom of them a little bit. Now we can run into our round edges here. We're gonna have to plug these gaps, but that should give us a pretty good viewpoint, I think, coming around. And that gives us a pretty good angle of view out the front. I think that'll work just nicely. All right, to complete the top of the windows, we're going to do a pro gamer move here. And I'm going to use this cross pattern to slap in front of this air vent. And then from there, we can go over into our windows and grab our 3x3 flat. And now we should be able to snap that right there, which will give us a pretty good view above us and a little bit on the sides and out the front. All right, now that that's done, we can use these round edge blocks and to build a little bit of personality on the side of the ship here. Just like that. And to fill these gaps so we can't fall through those holes, we'll go back over to our side passages here, and we are going to rotate them like that. And like that. And that should do a pretty good job of encasing our cockpit area. Alright, now outside by the rear of the ship, we need to start snapping in some more of our armor to kind of continue that design coming back. And to fill these gaps, I was thinking we definitely need... Got event controllers there. Let's come on in here. Oh, I did turn the light up in here, our panel light. But I think we definitely need a timer block and another event controller. I'm going to turn that like that so we can access it from there. And that should give us a pretty good seal. Now we have to, need to verify. There's a hole somewhere we got to plug. Oh, these guys. All right, not a big deal. So we have 3 event controllers. We can build. What are we going to need? I don't think those are very effective. We should probably put armor blocks here, actually. Let's do light armor blocks. We're going to stick some light armor blocks there just in case we take fire. I want to make sure that's good and sealed. Plus it looks a little bit better transitioning in that area. Alright, now at the rear of the ship, we aren't going to have the components to fully build these, but we can snap them in place. I was going to snap an eye on here and here for later, and once we get the platinum, we can make the thruster components to finish that. And now we're there, we can come to the very back of the ship. We're going to stick a big ol' hydrogen thruster on there. Now we should probably go in and make sure that these are shut off. You don't want them to fry you if you walk behind them. I'll just turn them off for now. And those ones won't be complete, but we have plans for them in the future. Alright, now that we're back up at the top of the ship, what we can do is go into our slope corners and we can grab a couple of these, kind of give this a little bit of personality here. And then this half slope here, and then we need to go into that, which then we can use. I believe there's a block right here we should be able to use to make this look really nice. There we go. Alright. And that will give us a nice place to stick the antenna because Nilla antennas are obnoxious. And we'll stick that antenna right there. Alright, now that the rear of the ship's coming together, we could snap some small atmospheric thrusters along this hydrogen tank to help protect it from the sides a little better. Because that's our main fuel line. And then we can get into our conveyance. And we're going to pull it out off of the side of this. And then we'll pull it, let's see here. We're going to pull it out this side right here. Do about there. So, and this will be nice because you could walk along it. And then right here, fall on the base of those, so it's not on the side or the bottom, it's offset here. We're going to run it back to about right there. So what this is going to allow us to do is another cool building trick. You can use these passageways. And what we're going to do is we're going to spin them so they look like this. And we're going to build those along the top. They're light, they're cheap, and they're going to look really cool here soon. So we're going to use them to kind of shroud our hydrogen thrusters we're going to build right here. So now we can go into our movement, grab our small hydrogen thrusters, and now underneath those we can place hydrogen thrusters facing up. And when they go off, they'll shoot flames out of that, but they actually won't damage that block. Let's not do that. So now we have those in place, we can run our side-facing hydrogens too. Actually, let's leave that one empty. So we'll just run them right here. And that way when we put the armor on it, it will give us some transition space to work with. And now we have those. We can snap forward facings here and here and here and here. And you can also do the trick for those. Let's run it like that and like that on each side. And obviously when you get these things snapped in, you can go shut them all off. Once we get them all of the hydrogens built, we will group them all. So for now we have that there. We're going to need a couple more conveyance blocks here. Might as well tie these in, give us some redundancy with our thrusters here. So I'm going to turn these all onto stockpile so it kills the thrusters, and then we'll start building some down-facing thrusters. Well, I hope they don't damage our floor, but what we can do is now snap our down-facing thrusters along here. Let's start here, kind of mirror it, not that way. Mirror the ones on the sides. Yeah, we can come out to this block. So now we have all of our down-facing thrusters in place. We can fill, because of the storage boxes are so big, we can just use normal size ones for right here. We could run storage boxes along here, and these will add up quickly for the amount of stuff you can carry. And they're pretty compact, so we're just gonna network those all in like this. Now that should give us a pretty reasonable amount of up thrust, and we have a lot of room for expansion if we need to add some more thrusters. But for right now, I think that will work perfectly for what we want. Now we're going to build some landing gear and also put some armor on the bottom of this thing. Oh, actually, I forgot. The landing gear is 2 spaces tall in Nilla, so I would have liked to have a little bit of armor on that. I don't know if you guys get the Type 2 landing gears. So for now, we're just going to assume you don't. We're going to snap this right there on that storage box and right there to match. Now we have our bottom landing gears on, and we can start running our armor. So over here in the AMA, I like to run these half slabs because they're half the weight of a full armor block, and we can start snapping them on. We want to bring them to right here on each side. And now that we have those on, we can run the slope like this. Get it like a F-15 look. And we're going to pull more off of this side but for now we're going to run these here, and huzzah, space magic. Now we got that on there. Bottom of the ship is looking pretty good. Alright, I think it's time to get some armor built around these thrusters. We don't want to make our ship too heavy, but we do want to have a little bit of armor here. I have it in symmetry mode because I'm in creative, so you're just going to have to mirror this on both sides. But we could snap those in there like that, and I believe they have, yes. Oh, come on. Just like that. We can have a kind of an old school, like, Guardians of the Galaxy look to it. Snapping these on it. There we go. And let's see. Give us some room to work with here. Now, which one am I looking for? Well, actually, maybe that will work out. Let's do this. And then into this guy and this guy, and then a slope half there. All right, now it's coming together. So now we can go into here. That'll transition perfectly into that, into half slopes down the bottom. And let's go to the yeah, I think that'll work. So, the question is, do we want more side thrust or not? And how are we going to pull this down? Ooh, we don't want heavies. use one of our transition slopes here. Yeah, there we go. Now it's coming together. How are we going to collapse this down without making it look too crazy? Let's go with... There we go. Into a half. That'll give us a little bit of room. There. I kind of want to do one of these fellas right there. Now, I think for we need some movements here. Slap another one of these there. I think that'll work. And then oh yeah, I know what to do. This guy perfectly right there. Ah, yes, there we go. And in the event we need to add more thrusters going up for hydrogen, we have all that to work with. But for right now, I think what we're going to do is plug that. And let's see here. Can't do much with that because the landing gear's in the way. Which is a little bit hideous. That's probably going to bother me. We could probably change it later, but... Ooh. Actually, we need to go half slopes here because they're all sloped on the bottom, weren't we? There we go. That's a little bit more challenging than I expected, making a Nihilus ship. There's a lot of fancy decorative blocks and stuff you get in the DLCs. So you can change this how you need it to be. But that opens the door for us to finish working on the front of this ship here. I'm gonna get this little chunk of the bottom front or middle done. Half slabs there and do a half slope here. And then we'll go here, stick a corner piece on. Wait, it's right here. Boop. There we go. That should wrap that up. And now we can start working on the top. We need to make a airlock, which I started to, and then I realized, oh no, I gotta record. So I just deleted the temporary ramps coming up. You're gonna have to build ladders or something, or just use your hydrogen pack. And I just replaced this conveyance right here with a air vent. So we'll just run a full air vent like that. And up. And I like having the control panel there in case you need to access it, but this is an air vent, so we are going to name it airlock, so we know it's the airlock air vent. And then you want to set that on depressurize. So next we are going to need doors. I'm just going to use these the sliding doors here, and we'll slap that one there. And then we're going to need our favorite passageway. Go with passageway number 2. Stick that there into another door. Heading out, this is going to be our outer door, our inner door, our airlock, air vent, and that seals all that together. So when we're leaving the ship, any air that goes in there will get sucked back into the oxygen tanks and then will come out here. So we need to start building the front of the ship down, how we're going to get out when we have it landed, and build like a drill on the front so we could drill asteroids when we're out and about, and a connector so you can connect to space stations to trade. Alright, so on the side of our air vents here, we need to make some conveyance coming out and up, and we're gonna bring them over this way like this, and these are going to be to install weapons on the ship. So, and I like to have Gatling turrets in the front and the assault cannons in the middle. So we're going to spin those, stick assault cannons there, and then we'll have, when it tapers down more, we'll put our Gatling cannons there. Now this ship is not made to fight, but this will mess up drones that are trying to attack you by pirates or whatever. Alright, now that we're staring at our angry guy with gun arms, we need to pull our conveyance off of this. Go about 5 out. We need a 3 area for the Gatling turrets there, and we're going to have a walkway that comes out this way to connect with the station. So we have this here for the connector for docking against space stations. You know, maybe we should protrude that out one. Let's do that. Let's protrude it out one. Go connector. Go drill underneath. Now you're going to have to be careful when you are drilling asteroids that you don't damage your connector here. But this is going to allow us to go right out onto the space stations, walking over the connector. We're going to slap a camera right here. So let's go over to utilities. Grab our top mounted camera facing forward, and now we'll have a camera for operating the drill and the connector here. And now we have room for our Gatling turrets and weapons. Slap some Gatling turrets on it, and then we will have a ladder well going down. Yes. All right, now we're underneath our door up there. I'm going to put some interior wall blocks in just to put a nice floor on this thing to right there, and then that will give us a place to stick a landing gear. I can flip that bad boy around like that, and then we have our ladder well. We can move, and we want to put that thing like that, and maybe just stick a normal ladder like that. Ooh, we can go right down to the ground with it. Now, we might want to wait till we have it disconnected, though. I don't want it to fuse with the block underneath. But then that will give us the ability to enter it if you want to do that. It's an option now. Alright, now back up on the top of the ship, we can make a couple different things. I'm going to put a passage light right here so you can move, or you could see that ladder there to go down, and then we'll switch over and do like a normal passage 2 or whatever. That way, and this way. Yes, there we go. And now we can just slap the armor on the front of the ship, and I'll see what it looks like. All right, let's get some armor on the front of the ship here. Just starting out, we're gonna run that, and then we'll go right into, let's see what this is looking like. Oh yeah, I think that's gonna be a nice way to entrance that. So now we have armors. Let's get them rotated right. And we need to pull our half armors up here. Let's pull that. We're going to go straight to right there. Cover that up. Can't put that there. There's landing gear. We'll seal that up after we get the ship completely finished. And now we have to transition right here. You can run one of these fancy transition blocks. It's going to make it easy if the drill gets busted somehow. To come out and just weld another drill on it. So, now we have that made. Should we run something fancy like that? Corners. And here is the question. What to do with all of this area? We could do something like this and step down and merge it in that way. So we're gonna have to build it up over these, I think, anyway. So let's see how that's starting to look. Let's roll a corner here. And then we can run halves across that. We'll run half like that. And this will open a window in case we need more thrust in any other directions. We'll have that available to us. So now we have this, and we need to go here. The hardest part is trying to think about how all of this is going to come together with the armor. So now that that is done, and you're pre-making these ships, that doesn't look too terrible bad, really. So now we want to go to halves here, because there is a block in here. This fancy looking guy there. And now we can snap that like that. And that lets us run the slopes this way too. Hopefully it doesn't look too bad. So now we can go into a half armor slope here, run them back. We could put more guns here on the top if we really want, because it does have the availability there. We're just going to have to bring them up more. I think we're going to go with this route, though. And boom. So that brings the kind of the front of the ship up. It could run something, either an armor panel there, which isn't very protective, but this isn't a warship, so we're not supposed to be fighting with this thing. This is just giving us enough to shoot back to get out of there. we can go into slopies. Ooh. Oh, here's an idea. As we go along here, we could pull them like that up. Snap that guy there. Got a transition piece that'll fit here. Bam. Into a corner. Now for this midsection, I'm thinking just a couple passageways up like that should be good. This is just to give us the essentials, or you the essentials, to get out into space, to get some uranium, to make a better ship. But it's also adaptable. So now we just got to finish this middle area. Alright, let's start working on this middle area. I'm going to go into the half slope transition up there. And then we can go to... let's go with this. You use these ramps and invert them at the stairs. Should I push it forward one more? Or is that good, do you think? Yeah, I'll do that. So now it's going to be a little bit wonky at the top, but we could just run some armor plating across. Let's go to light armor. We can run some plating here and here and here and here. All right, next for the middle, we're going to run one of these invert corners, and then we can pick one of those, run a half off of this into a corner, and for this guy, just gonna slope that up into that. Now for this, we can run right into that. Another one of those. Into this guy. Run like that. And that should be a transition block here. That's not the right one. Boom, like that. All right, cool. Now we just had to merge these ones. So let's see what we got to work with there. Beautiful. Now we can run halves here and here. And this guy. Right into that. And now we have a couple light armor halves to stick here and there. Now, that is the outside of the ship done. Almost. We gotta patch this little guy up. Alright, for this empty spot here, I think I'm just gonna go with this transition slope, and just gonna have to deal with the ugliness of it not being perfectly square. But you gotta see that yucky thing there. So that should clear up a bunch of that. I don't know if we need this here or not. Kind of leaning on no, though. And then we can go in here and we can just fill that up with an armor block to help protect us in here. And then a couple more light armors. We definitely want to keep our reactor protected if we're getting shot at from the front. And to finish out the inside, I'm going to leave these open. You guys can stick whatever you need in there for conveyance, like store blocks or contracts or whatever else. There's plenty of room to expand this thing. So what we could do, all right, for sealing up our mid part of the ship, I didn't realize it, but underneath the hydrogen, or this cryopod, was a hydrogen engine, which is definitely not airtight. So we are going to have to go in and do a full inlaid one, which I believe you should have access to. And it has a back plug, so that should seal that up. I know that there's air vent or a gap in the air there. There's an hydrogen engines here too, so we're also going to have to go in and slap our favorite old passageway on there. Should we do a 3? Yeah, we'll do a 3. So now we're also going to have to seal this up, which shouldn't be too bad. Because we can run something like this in here. And we can always run a catwalk on the bottom of this. Oh, there it was. And even though it has holes in it, it's technically sealed, I guess. Right. Well, I guess I had this one's the other way, like that. I'll do that just to have match, but that should have pressurized it. Disregard, the back corners also have thrusters I overlooked. So slapping this catwalks up against those, or you can put a solid block in there of whatever you need. Alright, in these corners of our mid area, we need to have our gyroscopes placed there. I thought that would be a cool way to put them so you could see them every time you pass by. You could also put them here to help protect this area a little bit. A couple more gyros in there. And that will let us fly the ship. Alright, just a couple of little quick things I wanted to change. I removed this. There was already 2 of these passageways for that forward thruster. I just removed this last one and slapped one of these corner slopes down. And then I was looking at the bottom. We missed that. So I think the easiest fix for that, take that out, go half slab, snap these right back, this last one into a sloped, boom. Not looking too bad. No, you could pull armor up and around that hydrogen tank if you're worried about it or whatever, but I think aesthetically looks pretty good now. Pretty sweet ship. for throwing it together for us for spaceship tutorial, but it has everything in there. And now we'll get into going into the control panel, getting everything set up, automated. All right, setting up all of the automation, all that fun stuff. We're going to start coming in this door passageway to this door. We are going to select this. If you're on console, both bumpers and back will open it, and we're going to name that airlock out. All right, now that's named airlock out. Next one we're going to grab is the airlock inner door, which is this guy. All right, now let's double check our, that's the airlock vent suite. That's already set up. This one, we're going to have to go through and name all of these. This is going to be mid ship air vent. And then we're going to come up here, and this is going to be the living quarters door, or bridge door rather. So now we need to go, we can name the medical station, basically go through this entire list, and I would just name whatever you name your ship. This is not that. Whatever you name it, we're just going to name it first for being our first ship for now. So now we are going to, you can go through and name everything in the control panels to first ship, and then we need to go to our event or door timer block. There's a timer block around here somewhere. There it is. All right, so our door timer block. This is going to be a door timer block. So now it is first door timer block. We're going to set the delay on that, 2 seconds. Oh, and then we need to go through and group all the doors. All right, next I go through and name all of the blocks, starting with first, which is the name of the ship for a prefix, and then group all of the things like the hydrogen thrusters together, and then we can hide them. And the same for batteries, atmospheric thrusters, group those together, the ions group together, hydrogen engines group together, the O2 tanks group together. All of this, the things like the lockers you can hide if you hit Y on them on controller. The hydrogen tanks are another thing that need to be grouped together. We had the 4 small ones and the large one, so don't forget that. Then we could hide those. And the storage boxes we could just hide. The lights, you're going to have to adjust how bright you want each of these lights, and then after that you can hide them. There's the bridge light that needs to be hidden. These O2H2 generators all need to be grouped together. The doors all need to be grouped together too. The weapons, the Gatling turrets and the assault cannon turrets both need to be grouped as well. So when it's all said and done, you're going to have the doors, the hydrogen tanks, the hydrogen thrusters, the O2 tanks, the O2H2 generators, the reactors, the weapons, the hydrogen engines, landing gear, the atmospheric thrusters, the batteries, the ions, all grouped with the others of their group. And the only ones I really don't ever group are jump drive and the antenna, if you wanted to adjust it on the fly or whatever. The rest, everything else has been named first. The doors we named earlier, inner, outer, airlock, they're all grouped together. And now we can start setting up all the automation blocks and all that. Now we have found our way back to the door timer block. And for the setup actions on that, we are going to use groups, and all of the doors, all 3 doors, are grouped into this. We're going to have the command close on that group of doors. All right, and moving from our door timer block over here to the other side, we have the event controller we put in here. This one we are going to rename to the door controller. And in that, we're going to have door opened, and we are going to select, oh, first off, we got to select all 3 of these doors. Make sure that we do not have the AND gate checked. And then you are going to have it for the action it's going to do. We're going to find our door timer block, and we are going to have start. And that's that. Done. And now, anytime our door is opened, it should run the thing and shut all of the doors. Cool. Next, we're going to jump into the control seat, and we can set this up now. For this, we are going to go in and we could set D-pad up, go to block tools. We could set that for our drill, and that way when we hit D-pad up, we can activate the drill to drill. D-pad down, we want to find our top facing camera here. We want to hit view on that. Now when we hit D-pad down, we can view that. We're docking and drilling. Now I like to go to my second page and set up our jump drives. So the jump drive is hiding somewhere. There you are. So we have that. The D-pad up I like to have on jump, and then if you want to manually set your distances, you can do increase distance, decrease distance, and then also like to have them toggle the block on and off. It's off right now. Remember when we built it, it is turned off. So third page we want to go into and have, we're going to start adding like a bunch of our groups together. We have our main hydrogen tanks. We could turn, actually we should probably do our thrusters. All right, so now the next thing we're going to do is set our thrusters in these groups. So toggle on and off though our hydros, and back to groups, and now we can manually turn our atmospherics on and off, and our ions on and off. And if you are playing on console, I wouldn't put your toggle engines on and off on your D-pad up, come to think of it, because if you're switching between first and third person, there's a chance you could let your finger off of the bumper and then it will just D-pad up, shut your engines off, and you'll free fly into something. So we're going to switch our hydro thrusters to the D-pad down, and we have our jump drives there. Now a slight oversight we're going to go over. This is why I like to build ships with some extra space in them. We did not put the ore detector in and the defense block. So that's what we're going to do here. Stick the ore detector right here in the front, facing that way. And if we remove these corners here for access, now you can put beacons in here, or you can put Anything else? Now going over here into the control block, we want to grab a defensive combat block and have that on this grid. And that will allow the assault cannons to fire to the 1400 meter range. All you have to do to enable that is have the block on and turn AI behavior on. It won't control anything, but it will auto lock and fire the weapons. And an alternative way to find those extra building areas is coming in here, and this passageway right before this door, if you grind that down, is the access way in from the sides of this tunnel. Now another thing we could add in is a gravity generator, which will help us stay down into the ship. Now you can go in here, turn on show gravity range, and turn it to show on HUD, and now it will show us the range of the gravity field, which is going to be gigantic. Now 171369 seems to be about perfect for this gravity generator right here. And when you're running across the ladder well, if you hug one of the side walls as you go by, you won't fall down it. Should be about perfect. Now in clothing, all we have to do is, after our ship is completely stocked up with what we need in it, food and all that for space, cut this off, stick a half slab on here, fill that hole up, and we should be all ready to fly. Now, once you have the ion thrusters finished, after you get some platinum from space and uranium, you can check out my video on how to make the cruise controls, so it will save you hydrogen while you're flying around in space only using the ions. Check out that video. We'll give this thing a test run quick. Alright, here we are in the cockpit. What we have to do is release our landing gear, and we are off. Not too bad. Got plenty of thrust. We could even fly it upside down. So off to space we go. Well, we're heading for space. And the thing is with this is atmospherics will only work up to a certain point. Right now the area is pretty thin with the atmospherics, so they're not really helping at all. And we had to break through this threshold. There's a gap between where the atmospherics work and where the ions work. And hydrogen allows you to pass through that gap. You can do it if you have a lot of ions and hydrogens. You can just not use hydrogens, but this is going to break that threshold. We are rapidly leaving the Earth-like planet right now, and that should get you into space. You shall have everything you need on the ship to go find uranium and platinum and get to space stations and jump around with the jump drive so you don't have to fly everywhere. If this video helped you out, I would appreciate a like and a subscribe. Just wanted to add a little thing to the end of this. This is completely full of uranium and platinum ore, and I launched completely off the planet just using the bottom thrusters coming up. The back one wasn't enough, but the bottom ones are enough to keep this thing going at almost 1,000,000 kilograms.